This is a warning. The Grim Reaper of radio, Bob Romanik, with his off-the-record show is about to air. He's probably the nastiest and craziest son of a bitch that you've ever had the misfortune to encounter. The Grim Reaper show will be very controversial and probably quite tasteless. If you are even slightly offended by controversial matter concerning religion, racial matters, politics, or life's problems, you are hereby warned to turn this program off immediately. The Grim Reaper show will be, like his face, very scary and very ugly. At this time, not proudly, but shamefully presents to you Bob Romanik, the craziest son of a bitch on the radio today.
This is Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ, 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ, 1430 AM. Insane broadcasting, America's bi-state voice of freedom, Radical Radio, and we are, as always, proud, very proud to be the Patriot. Good Wednesday morning, everybody. Where are we going to go today? Lines are always open if you can get through. We are America's voice of freedom. Definitely the Patriot. We love this great country of ours. You can call toll-free 1-888-394-1430. On the east side, 394-1190. We're going to go up to Belleville, talk about this Jan Fist. What a piece of judicial crap this no-count, low-life, no-good son of a bitch is. And I'm going to tell you people about the underlying possible situation in St. Clair County that could be worse than over in Ferguson. It's starting to brew. I talked to people last night. They're not happy. And it's not so much a black-white thing. It's a right or wrong thing. And we'll get into that momentarily. We're going to talk about a little bit about the primary votes last night. And, you know, I could be, and I'm sure that I look and sound like a Rhodes Scholar next to all, and I say all these political idiots, both Democrats and Republicans, who are running for president of the greatest country on earth. You believe that crap last night? I like Trump. I'm not endorsing him. I don't know who the hell I'm going to vote for, but I like him because he's somewhat like me. Well, with a lot more money. He's energizing the electoral process. He's motivating. Now, whether he can win or whether he's a best candidate is secondary. But everybody's getting off their asses now. They're starting to pay attention to politics, and that's what needs to be done all throughout this great country, especially in counties like St. Clair County, where this culture of corruption has moved on and on and on for year after year after year. But you see, Rubio talking about Trump's fake tan that is sprayed on. You talk about Trump, and hey, you guys think I'm an idiot. Well, most of the time I am. But here, I'm a crazy, ignorant son of a bitch. I'm running for state rep. I'm a crazy radio guy. I'm half nuts, if not all nuts, and I don't give a damn if anybody knows it. This country, this great country of ours is one thing. But the politicians that try to screw us, they're the ones that make us crazy. But anyway, here's Rubio. Wants to be the standard bearer for the Republican Party. And what does he say on national television? You know what they say about a guy with little hands? You know what they say. Got a little ding-dong. Now, here's a presidential candidate that wants to be the standard bearer of the Republican Party. And he's talking about Trump's thing hanging between his legs. Now, I do it, and boy, that crazy Romanik, that's a no-good son of a bitch. I don't want to come on the radio. He's nuts. He makes us sound bad and look bad. Here's a presidential candidate talking about somebody schwong, dong, whatever the hell you want to call it without getting into trouble. I don't hear anybody talking about Rubio. Can talk about me. Well, talk about me because I like my name out there. But anyway, do you guys understand how bad this country's in. And we talk about the Republican Party. They're saying the Republican Party is going to be broke up. And let me make it perfectly clear. I'm running for state representative on the Republican ballot. Carl Officer, our good friends, running for coroner on the Republican ballot. But we're members of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition. And our creed, our motto is uniting Democrats, Republicans, and independents for a more efficient, more effective, but most of all, a more honest form of government. We're uniting. We don't want Democrats to become Republicans. We don't want Republicans to become Democrats. I personally, and you've heard me 1,000 times, why the hell do we have party affiliation at the local level? Carl Officer will not do any different if he was a Democratic coroner. He'll respect the people's family. He'll do a proper death investigation, and he'll move on. And that's what you're going to do. Don't give a damn if there's an R behind your name or a D behind your name. But you get these Republicans, a lot of the mainstream Republicans are saying, we don't want Trump. Well, I just got to think, and being honest, the hell with what they want. The people are winning these primaries for Donald Trump. Whether the Republican Party wants it or not. See, there's O'Fallon Republicans in St. Clair County. They don't like me, and that's okay. That's okay. They don't like me, and I don't like some of those. But that's the way it is. But they don't dictate to the good Republicans in St. Clair County. We've had some of our Republican leaders say, if you talk to a Democrat, if you bring a Democrat on board, we're going to disavow supporting you, being for you. And I think to myself, well, wait a minute. I've been around this county a long time, as most of us have. The Republicans haven't won anything in 30 years. Well, job here, position there. But I got to think, why wouldn't they follow suit with us, with the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition? We're a movement. We're not a political organization because we're uniting. Hear me, people. Democrats, Republicans, and independents for a more effective, a more efficient, and most of all, a more honest form of government. We can't leave the Democrats out, and you heard, it's uniting. It's not changing a Democrat to a Republican or a Republican to a Democrat. We're uniting as one to beat the culture of corruption. And that culture of corruption goes all out through the state of Illinois to every state in this union, all the way to Washington, D.C. The Republicans in St. Clair County can't win an election without the help of the Democrats. And our motto also is vote the person, not the party. Why the hell we got these party affiliation? And let me I'll tell you a little secret, and don't tell anybody. I'm running as a Republican. But when I go to Springfield, I'm not going to be a bobblehead for Rauner. If there's something good for the people of the state of Illinois, something good for my district, the 114th legislative district, I'm all for Rauner. And as much as I really don't care for what Madigan has done, if Speaker Madigan, a Democrat, you hear some of the Republicans in St. Clair County going to get mad at me. See that, Romanik? No, I'm not a Democrat. I left that party long ago. I'm running as a Republican, to be honest. I'm like an independent Republican, libertarian. And you label me whatever you want. But I will be working, not for the Democratic Party in Springfield, as you know. I won't even be working for the Republican Party in Springfield, and I'm running as a Republican. I'm going to be working for the people of the 114th legislative district for this great state of Illinois. I've had people yesterday, Romanik, you say that, you're going to get in trouble with the Republicans. Well, I'll just have to get in trouble. I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a hypocrite. I'm going to tell you the way I feel, good, bad, or indifferent. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do in Springfield. So I have to say this. I'm not speaking for any of the other Republicans on the ballot, or I'm sorry, any of the other people running on the Republican ballot, not the Republicans on the Republican ballot, because I believe there's some independents on that ticket. I don't think there's any Democrats, because these guys that were once Democrats, as probably most everybody was, They've been run out. This is not the Democratic Party, your father, your grandfather, that works for the people. This party now, this Democratic Party, especially in St. Clair County, they want to steal. They want to steal from the people. They don't want to help the people. But having said that, you're going to get in trouble. You got to be a staunch Republican. You got to go along with everything the Republican Party says. I'll be damned, I'm my own man. In the Republican Party, it's no better or no worse than the Democratic Party. There's a lot of good people that are Democrats. There's a lot of good people Republican. There's a lot of great independent people who think for themselves. But in the last national poll, and I may be a point or two off, 27% of the people in this country identified as Democrats. A little bit less, I think 24% identified as Republicans in this country. Over half, over 50, I think it was 52% collectively identified themselves as independent, that they would vote either way. Thus, that's our mentality. They've taken a page out of our playbook. Vote the person, not the party. That's what independent people do. And I think those polls are skewed a little bit, because when it says 27% Democrat, they identify as Democrat, but I'll bet you a lot of them don't vote straight Democrat. I'll bet you the Republicans that identify as Republicans don't vote straight Republican. Hell, I was a bodyguard for one of the biggest politicians in St. Clair County years back, and I saw the underbelly of everything, Francis Touche. You know what he told me driving down the street one day? He was the county board chairman. He was the leader. He helped get governors elected. We're driving down the street talking about politics one day, and he says, Bob, let me tell you, I've been a Democrat all my life. I love this Democratic Party. But you know what else he told me? He said, I've never, you hear this? Never, ever. He didn't say ever. He said never. I'm putting the ever in. Never, ever did he vote a straight Democratic ticket. Now, here's a big Democratic leader. And I said, you know, Mr. T, I said, but you're a staunch Democrat. He says, but there's some idiots on the Democratic ticket, just like there's some idiots on the Republican ticket. He says, I've created an alliance. He supported Edgar at one point. He supported Jim Thompson, a Republican governor at one point. You know why? Because that's what was good for the people that he represented in Centerville Township. Now, that's a true politician. That's a true leader that's going to go wherever he's got to go to take care of the people that put him in his office. Centerville Township, small black area, got a hospital because of Francis Touche. Centerville Township Hospital. That wasn't because he was a straight, solid Democrat. That's because he was a Democrat, but he played politics. He worked with the Republicans. He crossed the aisle when it helped him and his people out. And that's what I'm going to do. And I hope that's what every political person that gets elected, you can be affiliated with a party. You know, I was in a fraternity in college, and I'm sure a lot of you were, a sorority. Did crazy crap. And you're associated with Alpha Phi Epsilon. And I just want to say that. I mean, I don't want to cast a bad light on any fraternity. You go out and get drunk. And here's 2 or 3 guys, and this is hypothetical, of course, but and it's really egregious. You go out and get drunk, and you're all Kappa Phis. Hey, Kappa Phi till the end. There's a drunk gal at the party, and one guy says, "Hey, let's rape her." Yeah, okay, because we're Kappa Phis. We gotta be Kappa Phis, and if you're Kappa Phis, hell, you say rape her. We got to stick together, so let's rape her. How asinine is that? Same way with the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. Oh, we got to go along with this idiot because he's a Democrat? We got to go along with this idiot because he's a Republican? No, it's not as bad as the rape, and that's not probably the best example. And I don't condone any violence against a woman, but I wanted to prove a point. That's how egregious some of these party line politicians are. Not just Democrats, not just Republicans, but all politicians. And for the Republican organization, of St. Clair County, and they always say, and there's a lot of nice people in O'Fallon. I think Mayor Gary Graham's done an excellent job, and I believe him to be a Republican. But there's some Republicans that have, in my words, taken over the Republican organization. I've talked to Republicans in the outer county. They don't know the O'Fallon Republicans. I know the O'Fallon Republicans don't like Bob Romanik. And I don't know, that could be good. Because for every one of their 20, 30 members, maybe they've pissed off 100 people. And I have to think to myself, well, maybe that's why there's not a strong Republican organization. Because in hindsight, they don't want to deal with Democrats. They don't want to deal with independents. If you don't give your allegiance, and I'm thinking out loud, I don't know if that's their mentality, but it appears to be, if you don't give your entire allegiance to the Republican Party, you can't talk to a Democrat. You can't be friends with a Democrat. You can't cross the aisle and vote for a Democrat. Well, the hell you can't. That's the only way that we're going to get rid of this culture of corruption in St. Clair County, people. And I know the rape analogy was hardcore, but it's the same thing. Just because you're part of that fraternity, you're going to go out and you're going to rape somebody because your fraternity brothers tell you to rape because that's what they're going to do? You don't have to endorse that criminal activity. You can be a Democrat. You don't have to endorse the whole entire agenda of the Democratic organization, and I hope you don't. And you don't have to be a Republican and endorse the whole agenda for the Republican Party, and I hope you don't. I hope people all become independent. And maybe if it's more comfortable for you, you can say I'm a independent Democrat because you don't want to wing yourself away too quick from the party. And I understand the Republicans. I'm an independent Republican. And you know what that means? That means that you think more on the lines of the Republican philosophy and their causes. Or if you're an independent Democrat, you think more along the philosophy and the causes for the Democratic Party. But you're not a hard line. Oh, I don't care. I hate that person. Kill my grandpa. But he's a Democrat. I got to vote for him. And that's been the mentality for the proud black community in East St. Louis. It's always been, I got to vote Democrat. You know how many times Sprague and Kern and Barra Civic, the white boys in Belleville, have put the proud black community in jeopardy at election time? You hear it all the time. I don't care how you get the votes. Just get the votes. I've told everybody that I've dealt with in East St. Louis, and I'm helping out East St. Louis because I want to see them prosper. That will be my district. Yes, I want to look good. I can't look good unless I produce. But I've told everyone down there that's tired of the culture of corruption in St. Clair County, we're going to help you guys. We're going to help you guys, but we want to see everybody do it the right way. Because I said, I'm going home to my family at the end of the evening, and you guys are just as good as I am, and you should go home to your families. I'm not going to tolerate any illegal activities. Now, the boys in Belleville, they'd come down there, do what you got to do. Don't tell us, oh, we don't want to know. I want to know because I respect those people in East St. Louis, both black and white, below the hill in Centerville, in Cahokia, Washington Park, Caseyville. Their family's just as good as mine. They're just as good as I am. We're all in this game together. So, but why would the boys in Belleville tell the proud blacks, do what you got to do? In essence, go ahead and go to jail. Charlie Powell did it for him, fell on the sword. Go ahead and go to jail because it's all about us here in Belleville. It's about the Democrats. No, it's about making this country, making these counties, cities better for everybody, not just for the elite. But having said that, people, you got to understand. You got to understand that this party politics is killing everybody. Be a Democrat, be a Republican, but be an independent Democrat or Republican. Don't just blindly go down that path. Like a guy, hey, come on. We're gonna jump over this 500-foot cliff. We got to jump a half a mile. And you look and you say, are you crazy? We can't jump a half a mile. Well, the Democratic leadership says that's what we're going to do. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll probably all die. But That's what the Democratic organization says. And I'll flip the script and say the same about the Republicans. I'll get some heat today. I'm not throwing any party under the bus. I think it's great. I think it's great to have a two-party system. When you have a two-party system, there's a check and balance. There hasn't been a two-party system in St. Clair County for the last 40 years. That's why things are bad. These bastards don't have to listen to us because they're going to get elected every 4 years. But here in 2016, people, with the help of the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition, with the help of the good Democrats, with the help of the good Republicans, independent, it's not going to be crossover like it's a bad thing. We're going to cross over. No, nobody has to cross anywhere. You don't have to cross somebody. You don't have to do anything wrong, illegal, immoral. You just got to remember, forget the D or the R or the I behind somebody's name, signifying Democrat, Republican, or independent. Look at who the person is. Look at what the person is about. Look what that person can do for you in the community. And I would tell you, in my instance, I made a mistake 18 years ago. I've done good the last 18 years. I'm not going to let one mistake identify and define my life. I'll fight hard for you people. That's what you got to look for. You got to look where people are going, not where they've been. Because we've all been in a bad spot. We've all been in a bad spot. Some of us were unlucky and got caught. Other ones weren't. And I still, before we go to break, that Hillary Clinton crap, and maybe I piss off some Democrats, but how can anybody look into a national camera when asked by one of the talk show hosts, Hillary, have you ever lied? She looked right into that camera and says, no, I've never, listened to me, people. She said, I've never lied in my life. Never lied in my, she didn't even signify if she lied when she was a child. I think it should be, and I honestly believe this, should be Mother Teresa Mary Hillary Clinton, the saint of all saints. Because I guarantee you, Mother Teresa, I guarantee you, the Pope, the Catholic Pope, I think's a good man. But I'll bet you not the money I've got, I'll bet my life that he's lied before. The only person in this world that's never lied is Saint Hillary Clinton. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of radio, and you're listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM. Insane broadcasting, your guardian of the First Amendment, America's bi-state voice of freedom, Radical Radio. And we are, as always, proud to be the Patriot.
The all-new 1190 AM KQQZ, marching in beat to the worldwide voice of freedom.
This program intended for mature audiences.
The only thing worse than listening to Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio, is perhaps getting your head severed. But then some will say it's a toss-up. Now, back to Bob Romanik, the Grim Reaper of radio.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
Well, the party was nice, the party was pumping.
Hey, yeah.
And everybody has
State Senator Kyle McCarter, I believe he'll be in the first part of the week to talk about his primary election against U.S. Representative John Shimkus. And I got to say about John Shimkus, maybe he's done a decent job, but when somebody tells you they're going to run for 5 terms and give you their word, and then comes back and says, well, I'm going to run some more because my constituents want me to. You know, I tell my constituents, if I get elected and give you my word, you won't make me back off. You may threaten me, you may not vote for me, but once I give you my word on something, my word will stand. My word will stand until I'm no longer standing. But having said that, that's what I really sticks in my mind about Representative Shimkus, but Kyle McCarter, state senator, he's running in the primary, the Republican primary. A good man, honorable man out of Lebanon. He'll be with us the first part of next week, and we'll give you a date on that. Trivia night, Columbia Masonic Lodge, 474. This Saturday, March the 5th. Doors open at 6 p.m. Play starts at 7, $10 per person. Any questions or concerns or would like to get involved, call Dave at 618-795-8472. Our good friends at Millstock, the Millstock Community Blood Drive, will be held tomorrow, March the 3rd, from 4 to 8 p.m., located at the Millstock Consolidated School, their multi-purpose room located at 211 West Mill Street in Millstock. Trivia night coming up March the 5th, this Saturday. The proceeds go to the St. John Newman Elementary School, the Troy Knights of Columbus. If you have any questions or concerns, it'll be held. The location will be St. John Newman's Elementary School, 142 Wilma Drive in Maryville. Doors open at 6. Trivia starts at 7. If you have any questions or concerns, you can contact NARM at 667-2115 or Dennis at 667-3104. And I want to again say hello to all of our great listeners in the Troy, Illinois area. Meat Shoot, sponsored by the Sugarloaf Sportsman's Club, to be held March the 6th at the American Legion at 201 Eiler Road in Belleville. Starts at noon. Guns will be supplied. I got to go out there because they're going to have Grandma Kate's famous chicken and dumplings. I love dumplings. And Bob Causey's going, hey, Carl, come on. Don't screw up my show. I can do a good enough job here. Bob Causey's, 80th birthday, so we wish Bob a happy 80th birthday. Hope he has another 80. Our good friends in Macoupin County, the Beneld Fire Association, presents Music Trivia Night, the Beneld Civic Center, Friday, April the 1st. Doors open at 6:30. Trivia starts at 7. Admission $10 per player. If you have any information that you would like to receive from these good people, the great people in Beneld, you can call 217-835-2268. Again, Friday night, and we're going to try to make it out there again to Smithton, the best fish I've ever eaten. Their Lenten special will be held every Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. at Smithton's Turner Hall. Great, great people out there. We were out there Friday night, got a great reception. The food was great. The people were friendly. Everything is good in Smithton. So, again, we want to salute the Smithton Turner Hall, all you good people out there who made that a very, very successful venture. Barbecue, Concordia UCC, State Route 163 in Belleville. I guess the United Church of Christ. Saturday, March the 19th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Pork steaks, bratwurst, hot dogs, carryouts available. Any questions or concerns? Contact 476-3377. Something near and dear to my heart here, the Shriners. What great, great people. I want to put a salute out to every Shriner for the time, the money, the effort, everything they do for our most precious commodity, our children. They're going to have a screening clinic for children with bone, muscle, or joint problems to be held this Saturday, March the 5th, from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Anderson Hospital, located at 6800 Illinois Route 162 in Maryville. For more information, you can contact 618-246-6056. It says walk-ins available. It's sponsored by the Troy Edwardsville Shrine Club of the Ainite Shriners. And guys, what a great, great group of guys you are. You can contact them for any additional information at 314-432-3600. The Aveston and Albers Cub Scout Breakfast. Help out local pack, Boy Scout and Cub Scout Pack 255 and get a great breakfast. All-you-can-eat pancake breakfast Sunday, March the 13th at the Aveston American Legion Hall from 8 to 11:30 a.m. Adults, $8. Children under 3 are free. Children, 4 to 11, $4. We're going to try to make it out to Aveston and Albers because you guys know we got a great listening audience out there. Those country boys love the country music. Last but not least, their annual pancake and sausage breakfast will be held this Sunday, and we're going to try to make it out there from 8 a.m. to noon at the Summerfield Lions Club. Pork sausage, eggs, pancakes, gravy, biscuits and gravy. They have it all, and I want to thank Mike Richter and the entire Richter family for the great job they do in the Trenton-Summerfield area. If you have any questions or concerns, you can contact 618-410-1135. Don't forget, you can pick me up on iTunes. Type in Bob Romanik and or the Grim Reaper of Radio. Go to our streaming, insanebroadcasting.com. One word, common spelling for the best of all three of our stations. And you can turn me on or turn me off or turn me any way you want to, except upside down. You can hear my repeat performance every day at 4 o'clock p.m., Monday through Friday. And now broadcasting from the graveyard to the graveyard shift every night at the stroke of midnight. On this date, March the 2nd, 1807, an act of Congress making slave importation into the United States illegally was passed. On this date, March the 2nd, 1819, the United States passed its first immigration law. On this date, March the 2nd, 1836, 59 citizens of Mexico founded the Republic of Texas. Texas declared its independence from Mexico on that date. On this date, March the 2nd, 1861, the Dakota and Nevada territories were carved out by Congress out of Nebraska and Utah territories, respectively. On this date, March the 2nd, 1867, the United States Congress created the Department of Education. On this date, March the 2nd, 1925, nationwide road numbering system and the United States shield markers were adopted for all the interstates to come in that very near future. On this date, March the 2nd, 1927, Babe Ruth, the Yankee, no, that wasn't the Yankee Clipper, that was somebody else. Anyway, Babe Ruth became the highest paid ball player in baseball with the New York Yankees, making $70,000 annual salary on a 3-year contract. On this date, March the 2nd, 1970, the Supreme Court ruled that draft evaders cannot be penalized after 5 years. Infamous date, on March the 2nd, 1974, a grand jury concluded President Richard Nixon, I am not a crook, was involved in the Watergate cover-up. That's what happened on this date, March the 2nd, throughout all these years in our world's history. I'm going to get Ed Cockrell and Carl Officer involved in this, and Carl is involved. And this is Bob Romanik talking. This is not Carl Officer or Ed Cockrell. This Belleville woman, this piece of crap that said she had cancer to get $40,000, $50,000, I think that's egregious. I think that's rotten. But what I think's even more rotten than that, Judge Fisk, that no-good piece of judicial crap, gives this lady 3 years. And she should get 3 years, but he gives the guy, honey, what's your name? Elisa Jackson. You should have had Tom Daly as your attorney. Maybe you'd have got a better deal, because Jan Fisk was the attorney on this one and gives you 3 years. Jan Fisk was also the judge who goes down to Jupiter, Florida with Tom Daly, who takes limousines over to the ballpark in St. Louis for the Cardinal games with Tom Daly, who drinks, has a good time. He sentenced Tom Daly's client to 1 year. Now, people, this 1 year was for mob action. The state's attorney's office, they dumped 2 or 3 aggravated battery charges that you could have got 8-10 years for. They dumped other things. This guy, and I don't chart this Reggie Allen because that was his job and his attorney's job to get them off of these charges. But Jan Fisk gives them a year, and then when the family gets distraught and they're crying out in the hallway, not disrupting the court proceedings, Jan Fisk tells them, and it's a black family, go out there and tell them to shut up or I'm going to hold them in contempt and throw them in jail. Now, that's the backdrop. I'm hearing from good sources, and I was in East St. Louis last night. You remember the incident in Ferguson? I think everybody does. The authorities and the police, they all acted properly in Ferguson. They got vetted by the president, the attorney general, the grand jury, the federal grand jury. And look what happened with all that chaos and destruction, looting in Ferguson, Missouri. In this situation in St. Clair County, the judicial and the prosecution was totally wrong. And the same situation is brewing in St. Clair County like it did in Ferguson. And I got to say, I'm not for any violence, but I understand why it's brewing now in St. Clair. In Ferguson, I didn't understand. The authorities did nothing wrong. But here, the judicial system failed. And it was a young black man, but I don't give a damn about color. It was somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody's husband, somebody's father. And they let this guy go with 1 year? I'm surprised that there haven't been all this disruption, all this crap in St. Clair County after it's happened in Ferguson. All this has happened in Ferguson for no reason. It's brewing in St. Clair County, people, and I'm being serious. We've got enough problems. We don't need our corrupt politicians bringing looting, burning, and destruction to St. Clair County. And think about it. Nobody thought it had happened in Ferguson. They tell me that Al Sharpton's been notified. They tell me that the Department of Justice has been notified. And there's some people over in Ferguson that are ready to come over this way. I want to protect the good people of St. Clair County. And Carl, I know you're trying to put a stop to some of this. This is egregious as to what happened. But even more than that, it's going to be bad if this stuff carries on.
Yeah, good morning, Bob. How you doing? Before I get to the very serious question of what you just asked me, because we have been working hard, I just have to ask you a very trivial question. Was it dumplings?
Dumplings,
okay.
Yeah. Don't be a smart ass.
And I can't help myself.
I know you can't.
I'm sitting there. I just want to know how big were the hands that made the dumplings?
Hey, now you
I gotta go with you. No, I'm gonna go with you Friday night because I've heard you on more than one occasion talk about this fish in Smithton, and I'm gonna be there Friday night. I couldn't go last Friday.
Great people.
But let me get to this. I have personally intervened to try to stop Reverend Al Sharpton from coming to East St. Louis from the Belleville. I don't think we need someone from New York City to come to the courthouse in Belleville to discuss with the taxpayers and the residents and the voters of St. Clair County our judicial system. I don't think that we need to have agitators coming from Ferguson or any place else. I do believe that the ministers that I have met with for the last week or so and that I've talked to in the East St. Louis metropolitan area, and I've talked to a number of bishops, a number of ministers, they are concerned, and it became even more, I guess, insulting when I saw that the same judge who gave a 1 year ruling for a victim that lost his life, that was unarmed, that did not pose a threat, the defendant got 1 year. A lady who did something that was despicable,
but didn't hurt anyone, actually.
Did not hurt anyone. She didn't cause anybody to lose their life. She gets 3 years.
Yeah.
I find that to be incredible. I'm not a lawyer, but I've dealt with enough of them. But I do know this much, that the people that I have spoken to who came to me, and I've talked to the federal authorities at the United States Department of Justice, they are preparing to do an investigation into the St. Clair County State's Attorney's Office, the St. Clair County 20th Judicial District.
And the entire courthouse, I heard.
Well, I don't know about the entire, I know about the State's Attorney's Office. I do know about the Judicial Circuit. And the thing that bothered Carl Officer, I'm not speaking for anybody else but myself on this one, I find it insensible that a judge or anyone who has seen that somebody lost their loved ones, and I deal with people who deal with death every day, but how you can say to people who have seen their loved one being murdered, and you can tell them, oh no, if you keep crying or making noise here in the hallway of a public building, we're going to hold you in contempt of court and put you in jail. That's incredible to me. How insensitive. I don't know how anyone who understands the fervor of faith could even make that comment. And let me just finally say, I was studying this morning as I do normal. I think they need to read, particularly this judge needs to read the book of Micah and understand what the prophets say when they speak of justice. That being said, I'm very confident and very comfortable that we will have at least a impartial review by the United States Department of Justice on this situation.
Right. You know, I heard, Mayor, and I'm going to be part of it. And I get the heat because they say, hey, you're fighting for the black community. And then when I say something against the blacks that I think are wrong, then I'm a racist. But I got to say, this is, to me, more than a black-white thing. This is just a wrong thing. This was somebody's family member. I don't give a damn if he was purple. Got run over. This guy gets a year, and then the same judge gives this lady 3 years.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but I still think, and I know Jan, I just think Jan owes a personal apology to the family for those kind of comments, to threaten to put the family member in jail because they were crying because they lost their loved one is just totally insensitive. That has nothing to do with the law. That has something to do with decency and common courtesy.
I agree, but I disagree. No, he owes him an apology for letting this man take their family member's life and get a year. And I hear there's going to be a peaceful vigil, not a criminal protest, but a peaceful vigil at the courthouse. And whenever it comes about, I'm going to be there. I hope everybody, black and white, men and women there, not to fight for a black cause or a white cause, but to fight for a right cause. And that's what it is, a right cause.
Let me kind of segue into that. There's going to be a protest at the courthouse. There's going to be probably a number of protests in the courthouse. I went Monday night, as you well know, to the courthouse to witness for myself because I haven't been to a county board meeting ever that I can recall. But I saw shenanigans Monday night. I went to, really, quite frankly, I went to just see you. I wanted to see what you were going to say.
Yeah, you want to see Bozo on parade, huh? Okay.
Not necessarily Bozo. I'm going to be respectful to Bozo.
Oh, you smart.
But I really wanted to go see you and what you were going to say and how you were going to approach this. And the first thing I observed was that they had one security guy there, and the moment that you showed up, it looks like the sheriff's department got cleaned out, and they started sending deputies over to the courthouse. And I started laughing and go, why would they have to send the 3 deputies to stand behind you in the doorway at the county board
But I got to say, I had on my car free coffee and donuts for all the police. Hey, listen, we're not going to take a break, Carl. Let's get, hey, Ed.
I want to get to Ed. This is what I want to say. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is the thing. I saw Ed Cockrell stand up with a couple of other members of the county board and ask a serious question that you have been raising, I've been raising, and they pushed Ed to the side. I want him to address this on a technical procedure, saying that as an elected official of St. Clair County, he couldn't get a resolution on the floor so they could ask a question about how $15 million a year for at least 5 or 6 years, which is just say well over $100 million of taxpayers' money from St. Clair County is being spent. But he, as an elected official who's supposed to approve all expenditures for St. Clair County, he's out of order in asking this question. That was just absolutely asinine.
Ed, what do you got to say for yourself?
Well, Bob, that's just indicative of the way the games are played up there.
It's a trope. It's a trope. People ought to go up there, Ed.
It's an absolute shame. And you know, we collectively, as elected officials, should be better than this. But 10 people stood strong with us, and despite some of the Kool-Aid drinking bobbleheads up there and their shenanigans. But, you know, I'm getting calls from all over the county and all over Illinois, for that matter, saying, you're standing up, you're fighting the good fight and doing the right thing. The bottom line is, Bob, nobody on the Public Building Commission, I wouldn't run that airport with my money. You shouldn't run it with your money. Mark Kern doesn't run it with his money. Rich Sojay doesn't run it with his money. The taxpayers are running it. They're running it with the taxpayers' money, and that's just wrong. Okay,
I agree.
All we were trying to do was interject and put in ordinance form a resolution or an ordinance that called for accountability at the airport. Now, is that so bad?
Yeah.
You would have thought, and then when the chairman goes out of his way to personally attack me and bring up my voting record for years and years and years, I guess it's all my fault that Mid-America Airport's got all the problems.
Yeah.
But then when I stood up, he goes, "You've already commented on this subject and you're out of order. You don't call me out of order after you personally attack me, sir."
Right.
And if the bailiffs would have came down and escorted me out, I would have went peacefully because they're just doing their job.
Right.
But I am not going to allow anybody to personally attack me or my voting record. And if I made mistakes, absolutely, I'll be the first to admit it. But Mark Kern is not a dictator. And because those that are goose-stepping...
He is a dick.
He's a dictator. But those that are goose-stepping behind the Fuhrer, you're going to be held accountable by your people this fall, too.
Yeah. I want to know one thing, Ed, and maybe you can't answer this.
Or before, Bob.
Yeah.
Or before.
I want to know, how the hell did this airport ever get in the hands of the Public Building Commission? How did it get in the hands of someone that doesn't answer to anybody instead of the people that we elect on the county board to do our bidding for us? How the hell did it get taken out of your guys' hands and given to a shill for Mark Kern, God Sprague, and John Barasiewicz?
In 1996, Bob, a resolution was passed authorizing, because we had professionals hired to run the airport at that time.
What happened to them?
Okay, well, they were kicked to the curb, but be that as it may, a resolution was passed authorizing that the Public Building Commission be the operating airport. That same resolution says that all expenditures, all contracts, and any other matters must and shall be approved by the St. Clair County Board. So there was a check and a balance there. They were supposed to bring it back, but they do not under Mark Kern. I got to give it to John Barasiewicz, and I know you don't like him, and that's fine, but I got to give it to him when I started. At least he was transparent, and everything came back to the county board, bad, good, or indifferent. Now, there were some votes, and I was part of those votes that turned out to be bad ideas, but at least I was informed.
Yeah. Well, you're going to make it perfect. You can't hit 100,000 all the time, batting average.
I don't, Bob, but the thing is, I think if there's passion in people, and we saw that passion the other night, those 10 people stood up and said, "This is wrong." Now, 18 others didn't.
Yeah. Well,
okay?
we're going to get rid of some of those 18 others.
Some of those are going to be shown the door, I hope, soon. But
Carl, last word.
Well, on that, I would venture to say, if you go back to the early 80s, mid-80s, I bet you can't find 50 people in St. Clair County who remember voting on that referendum for this airport. Because most people, at least in my area, my neck of the woods, they voted overwhelmingly in East St. Louis to approve the airport, having no idea what the hell they were voting on.
You're
they
right.
were doing those referendums or on. They have no idea. You can't find 50 people in East St. Louis who said, "Oh, I remember voting on this." And what Ed just got through saying is simply this. You and I are going to be going to a meeting in about a couple of hours out in Freeburg.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find very important to do, we are not going to get anything from the group that I saw Monday night. I think we're going to have to file a taxpayers lawsuit, and we're going to have to file it perhaps maybe even in federal court, because I do think they have violated the agreement that I heard explained to Ed Cockrell the other night.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna keep the fight up. See, that's the problem, people. What I segued earlier. It's these Democrats. They're voting for whatever Sprague, Kern, and Barasiewicz want. They're a bunch of bobbleheads. They got to vote. I hope Barasiewicz and Sprague and Kern don't say, "Come on, all you Democrat county board members, we're going to go jump off out of a plane without a parachute," because these ignorant bastards would do it. That's why, people, we don't need to have a party running our county, our cities, our states, our country. We need decent people. We need decent people to run our counties, our states, our local governments, and that's what the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition is all about. We're about uniting Democrats, Republicans, independents, men, women, black, white, for a more effective, a more efficient, and most of all, a more honest form of government. And we're going to do that in November of 2016 with your people's help. We're going to change our county. We're going to change our state. And together, all of us in this great United States can, like Donald Trump says, make America great again. Thank you, Mr. Ed Cockrell. Thank you, Mr. Carl Officer. You guys come by anytime. Keep up the good work. Ed Cockrell, keep fighting the fight, because you are a county board member. You've got every right to be heard. And you were heard Monday night, and I think we're going to hear a lot more from Mr. Ed Cockrell. He's a candidate for Board of Review. This guy knows more about taxes, I'd say, than Kern knows about running the county. But, hell, all I'd have to know is you got to pay taxes on the soda when you buy it. That'd know more. He would know more than Mark Kern. But Ed Cockrell, a candidate on the Republican ticket, but a candidate, the best candidate the people's choice for Border Review come November of 2016. We'll be hearing a lot more from Ed, a lot more from Carl Officer, and a lot more from this big mouth behind the mic. We'll see you tomorrow. This is Bob Romanik. The Grim Reaper of Radio, and you've been listening to the all-new KQQZ 1190 AM, simulcasting on KZQZ 1430 AM. Insane broadcasting, America's bi-state, not bisexual. Mark Sweetcakes Kern, you hear me, you idiot? It's bi-state, not bisexual. I can see you smiling when I say bisexual. Bi-state voice of freedom, Radical Radio. And we are, as always, very, very proud to be the Patriot. Come on back tomorrow, same time, same place. We'll be fighting these rotten, no-good son of a bitches together. Not as Democrats, not as Republicans, but as Americans. We'll be fighting these rotten bastards. And you can see every day the St. Clair County Freedom Coalition picks up more members and more members. Democrats, Republicans, independents, men, women, black and white. Because we all know now that together, we can continue to expose these rotten, political, parasitical punks, these cockroach son of a bitches that we call politicians, and destroy them. Destroy them politically, of course. Right here on the dark side.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny farm where